Welcome into the Extra Points show presented to you guys by Fantasy Points. My name is Nick Skrip, here with my guy Major after a little bit of an absence from both of us. I myself had zero voice after coaching two playoff soccer games in Illinois. I couldn't really speak, so I would do no justice on this show. Major wasn't feeling well. We're both back here, week 8. I feel like we're just stronger than ever, man.
Stronger than ever. And you know what? I'm gonna come with a positive vibe. I'm going all highs on everything today. Let's go.
Hey, let's go is right. That's usually me. I actually made it a point that I had some lowers on our player props that we're going to talk about today because I'm always like ridiculously optimistic about everything that's going to happen, which is not the case usually. But if you guys are new to the show, what happens here is Major and myself, we go through the Underdog Fantasy app, and if you are not familiar with that app, go check it out. You can go to the App Store, type in Underdog Fantasy, or go on your web browser and type in Underdog Fantasy as well, and they'll give you a list of players, different sports. We're going to focus on the NFL today and player props. So you'll see every game, different players from that game, and a series of different player props for that specific player. And by player props, I mean statistics. And you pick higher or lowers for that. And you have to just match up at least two guys from two different teams, put down your deposit, and then you are set to cash in some money. And if you, again, are not familiar with the app, go check it out today. Use the promo code that you see on the screen, Fantasy Points, but it's Fantasy PTS for a deposit matchup up to $100 on that Underdog Fantasy app. It's a ton of fun. We're both going to go through 4 picks individually for this coming week. If you like 2 of his, 2 of mine, you're in business. Maybe all of Major's, none of mine, you're in business. But Major, just in general, man, it feels like that this week we're dealing with, injuries and guys that we didn't expect to play. And what's your overall vibe about week 8 here? I feel like it's been kind of an odd season so far.
Yeah, this week for me personally, especially in my fantasy, man, it's been rough. Like everyone's hitting the IR, everyone's out. You got some buys. I'm scrapping right now. So like it's a lot of scrapyard. This is when you really know people who really know their sports. You know what I mean? Like you have to really dig deep to find those players who will get you 10 points or something. So
Yeah,
yeah, so the real football fans are coming out today. That's what it really shows.
absolutely. I recall this week talking about like Khalif Raymond, who like nobody knew about
Right.
before the season started, maybe from last year, but it's kind of it's at that point of the year through week 8. But let's start things off, man. What are you feeling today for your first player prop bet on Underdog?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go with a lot of young guys, and you're gonna see some transitions going on this week with the quarterback positions as well. But I'm gonna go with Michael Pittman Jr. higher than 58 and a half receiving yards. Pittman has beat this mark 4 out of 6 times. This 4 out of 6 times he played this season. And last week he finished with 58 yards. On the year, MPJ is averaging 69 yards per game. And with Matt Ryan being benched due to like that shoulder injury, and most likely heading to retirement, Sam Ellinger is he's gonna hop in there. He's a below average quarterback, but what he lacks in talent, he makes up for with moxie. Like he's one of those players who's gonna scrap and do whatever he has to do to win. I like those type of players. I like the underdog type of players. Shout out to Underdog app.
Hey, the plug.
so Exactly. So, he's a quarterback from Texas University. And again, like I said, he makes up for his lack of talent with a lot of grit. He likes to run the ball a lot. So there's going to be some scramble plays. So I think Michael Pittman's going to hit that mark. And they're playing the Washington defense that's ranked 17th against receiving in defense, giving up 237 passing yards per game to receivers. So I think Pittman's going to have a pretty good game. And let's see if the new quarterback can revive this Colts offense. It's been pretty bad.
Yeah, I feel like they tend to set these bars pretty low when we don't really know how a quarterback is going to look. I'm sure with like Taylor Heineke last week with Terry McLaurin, they were probably
Hmm.
saying like, oh, his receiving yards mark's probably going to be pretty low on this app, but sometimes you can capitalize because like you said, he's been above this mark plenty of times. He's had 2 games above 120 receiving yards, so we know that his receiving yard ceiling is there. He's not like, your slot wide receiver that's, picking up scraps or anything like that. And in Washington, you mentioned too, but Washington middle of the road when it comes to passing yards per game given up. So I was trying to see if they're on the high end, the low end. They're right in the middle. So I feel like the prop is set pretty low for a guy that we've seen smash this plenty of times this season just because of the new quarterback situation. And when it comes to betting, sometimes you can capitalize on like that week one uncertainty. So I like that.
Exactly.
I feel like that's a good one. I'm going to go with a lower, which I typically don't do, but I'm going to go Matt Collins lower than 2.5 receptions, which seems pretty low, but Devontae Adams is expected to play. Hunter Renfrow was removed from the injury report. Matt Collins is still left as questionable right now. So I think if you place a bet down on him and he ends up not playing, they just kind of forfeit that. You don't lose. But I'm pretty sure the last time I checked, they're expecting Matt Collins to play. So even if he does play, we're looking at a guy that's probably not 100% if he's like the last guy to leave the injury report. Week 3, he had that massive 8 receptions for 158 receiving yards and a touchdown game. He looked like Devontae Adams, his teammate, but he's not. He's not. He's had 5 catches across his last 3 games played combined, 3-0 and 2 receptions. Waller has also a chance to play, and he missed out last week. So I feel like Matt Collins, he's a role player, but his role when everybody is there is pretty small. So I know it's a low mark, but he's only, again, combined for 5 catches across 3 games. So I'm going to go Matt Collins in this one, lower than 2.5 receptions.
I mean, that's not a bad call. I mean, besides that one big game he had when he was 8 for like 158, uh, it's been kind of quiet for my man. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, especially when you have a target monster like Adams on your team, and then you have Hunter on there. That he's going to get his love. So I feel I'm with you 100% on that one.
Only
Let me
for him to
see.
go for like 9 receptions this week somehow. But
Hey, that's life.
we're gonna go under 2.5. But what about your second one for the day here? What are you feeling?
Yeah, so my next one, I'm gonna go with Tua. Tua Tagovailoa higher than 275 and a half passing yards.
Like it.
And Tua's return from concussion protocol, he played well versus the Steelers, putting up 261 yards and a TD on 21 passes. So even coming back from that injury, he kind of threw the ball a little bit. And Tua will be looking to add to his good performance. Against one of the worst defenses in Detroit. So it's like they're giving up 249 yards per game, and two of those high flying receivers, they can go off at any time. They're averaging 281 yards per game through the air. So I think Tua and that offense, they're going to start trying to make that playoff push. So look for them to like take it to the next level this week.
Yeah, I'm with you there. You know, Detroit is very giving when it comes to almost every position right now. Passing yards per game, they're ninth most passing yards per game, and on the flip side, though, their offense is generating the 9th most points per game, just like total NFL points per game. So that to me means that this game script can be okay. I think a lot of people will look sometimes to be like, well, Detroit's not doing good this season. The record's bad. Maybe they won't have to pass the ball a lot, but they're actually scoring enough points to make these like pretty decent games. So I feel like with Tua, again, he's shown his upside before. He's got 2 guys, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, that provide a ton of yards after the catch. So he doesn't have to like air it out, for him to get those passing yards. He can have a 10-yard pass that goes for 25 just because of those 2 guys alone. But I like that. I'm full with 2 of them. I like him a lot for this bet. I like him for fantasy as well against Detroit. My next one, I'm going to go with in maybe not an easy one, but the script of this one just seems to make sense. But Derrick Henry higher than 22.5 rushing attempts. So a lot of things going on with this. But Houston is currently the best running back matchup, with them giving up the most fantasy points per game, but also the most rushing yards per game. So very juicy matchup for Derrick Henry. Back-to-back games above this mark, this 22.5 rushing attempts, 28 and 30 attempts his last 2 games. He was under, though, the rest of the season, but we got some situations going on right now. So number one, the Titans leading the AFC South. So obviously the importance of winning every game is enough for them to lean on Derrick Henry. especially knowing that they're playing the Houston Texans that are in that same division, the AFC South. So I also want to recognize that Malik Willis is going to have his first NFL start today. And I'm not going to say he's going to do poorly. I actually think he's going to have a decent game, but I think that they're going to go into the game knowing that it's a divisional matchup, knowing that they're in first place and saying, hey, Malik Willis is going to win us this game today. Malik Willis. I think they're going to say, hey, Derrick Henry is going to win us this game at all costs today. So I wouldn't be surprised if he rushes the ball for 30 times today, let alone 23. So I just feel like it's a good running back matchup. They have their backup quarterback in, must-win game. Derrick Henry above 22.5 rushing attempts.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry, if you look at his history versus Houston, he has monster games. I think the last three times he played them. So this one kind of leads into my next one, man. I love how we have that synergy where we just kind of on the same page all the time. I'm
We
gonna go
didn't
with
plan
Malik
it.
Willis. Didn't even plan it. I'm gonna go with Malik Willis, higher than 200.5 total yards. Like again, that's passing and rushing. I think he can have like 150 rushing yards and 50 passing yards. He's just that type of athlete. But Malik Willis is getting an opportunity to lead. Like Nick told you, another one of those fake injuries. You know what I mean? Like Tannehill got the high ankle sprain going on. You're going to see that a lot around this time of the year. That's how respected quarterbacks. That's kind of like how they take a back seat to see what the next guy can do if the team is not performing well. That's just like a known unknown fact about football. I don't know, but in college, he's a super explosive player. In the preseason, he had some pretty good games. Explosive. I'm not gonna say he's pretty good. He was inaccurate a little bit, but it was exciting. He made some big plays, and that Houston defense is giving up a lot of yards. They give up 247 yards per game on the air, and they're second to last in rushing yards to quarterbacks. So it's not a lot of rushing yards, but they do give up rushing yards to quarterbacks. But like Nick said, I think it'll be a Derrick Henry thing, but I'm just hoping for a big splash from Malik. I think he's going to come out and be full of energy and kind of do his thing,
Yeah, I feel like that. You said, what was the mark? 200?
Yeah, 200.5 total yards.
That's insane total yards. So you got a rushing quarterback that has the combination set at 200. That's insane to me. That's almost saying that he's just going to be handing balls off, which I think he's going to do that a lot. But 200 yards for a rushing quarterback is nothing. And I want to mention, just in case like guys are listening and they haven't listened before, but Major and I love these combination bets because it gives you a safer floor when it comes to betting. So instead of just betting on passing yards or just betting on rushing yards for Malik Willis, they're literally giving you both sandwich in one. So I feel like this is an easier bet to make today. And this is something that, and I only bet on Underdog, only. But this is something I'd
As
be
you
looking
should.
to. Yeah, they're a partner of Fantasy Points. There, I'm only betting on them. But I feel like these combination bets are really intriguing because they're just safer. But I love that. I feel like it's super low right now. I wonder if that's going to change. I might have to. We might have to like jump on actually betting on that now. But
Yeah.
that. I'm with you. I'm with you there. I'm going to go with a lower mark again for my third one, and I'm going to go Najee Harris lower than 47.5 rushing yards, which seems kind of rough to say something like that, but he's having a bit of a rough season. If you want to blame their offensive line, if you want to blame the staff, if you want to blame Najee Harris, it is what it is when it comes to the actual stats. He has a season high of 74 rushing yards. He's been under this 47.5 mark, though, 3 times and under 50 rushing yards 4 times. So he's not having a good rushing season, to say the least. The Eagles give up the 12th least rushing yards per game, so they're on the worst end of that middle line of the NFL teams right now when it comes to rushing. They're also 5-0. So when I see a 5-0 Eagles team, I see a guy that's not running the ball well right now. I'm kind of looking to the quarterback and what he's been doing. And Kenny Pickett hasn't been elite or anything, but his leash is very loose when it comes to actually throwing the ball. He's had 52 and 44 passing attempts in 2 out of 3 of his last games. So he is throwing a lot. And when you play a 5-0 Eagles team that looks very good right now on both sides of the ball, and you have a running back that's not running well, I feel like his opportunities might not be great. He's only carried the ball above 15 times twice this year. So I just don't see him getting like 20 carries in this one because he hasn't been getting those. And they're 6-0. I don't know why I'm saying 5-0. 6-0 Eagles. Got to get the facts straight according to I have an earpiece, the guy in the background telling me, but who has no bias to the Eagles either. The guy in the
At
earpiece.
all.
But they are 6-0. But again, yeah, guy's not running the ball a lot. He's not running the ball well. 6-0 team. I don't think he's running the ball for 50 yards today.
Man, that sounds crazy saying that, but I think you kind of sold it to me a little bit, man, because I'm looking at his numbers here, and it's nasty, dude. I see 42 yards, 20 yards. I mean, he hit 65 and
Yeah, last game.
74, and so it's like, he's not having that season he had last year. And if anything, I think it's going to be a lot more check down stuff than it is actual, handing it off to him. So I think you might be safe with that bet there. Going into my last one here, I'm gonna go with a running back as well. I'm gonna go Travis Etienne, and like you said before, we like those double ups. So Travis Etienne higher than
He's playing right now,
nine.
though. He's playing right now.
I know. Dang, I totally forgot about that.
I want to mention that too.
I
What is up with having to watch that game on ESPN Plus? I looked this morning,
I seen you tweeted
nine
that.
9.99, and I'm thinking about it. I didn't even say anything. My wife looks at me and she's like, "Absolutely not for one game." And I'm like, "You're right. It's the Jaguars versus the Broncos. I'm not going to pay $10 for this." But it's wild they do this with these single off games. But well, you think about yours. I'll go into my last one. I'll go
Yeah,
to my
thank
last
you.
one,
Go
and
ahead.
you
I
think
totally
about
forgot
yours.
about that.
But I was going to let you go for a little bit and be like, he already did hit that mark. You were right.
No,
No,
I
but
appreciate that.
actually, I do. For the hell of it, real quick, let's see his stat line before I go to mine.
I was gonna go 93, 93 and a half higher. So where's he at now?
94 yards rushing.
I was gonna be
Man.
right though.
All right, there you go. That's how you know. I'm gonna go. We spoke on that Miami Dolphins Detroit game already. You talked about Tua. I'm gonna go to the running back. I'm gonna go with Raheem Mostert, higher than 69.5 rushing yards. So the Lions are number 2 in rushing yards per game given up. Mostert, 69, 113, 49, and 79 rushing yards the last 4 weeks. Zeke rushed for 2 touchdowns last week. Tony Pollard had 83 yards rushing himself. Ramondre, the week prior, had 161 rushing yards. Rashad Penny had 151 when he was healthy. Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders this year were just shy of 100 rushing yards, and they scored a touchdown. Detroit is super, super friendly when it comes to running backs. Raheem Mostert's getting a ton of work right now. I was very wrong on any Chase Edmonds takes from this year, but again, for him to hit 70 rushing yards, I feel like it is almost a gimme in this matchup, unless they're going to have to focus completely on the air because they're chasing a game against Detroit. But I feel like he's going to hit that 70-yard mark just based off of what other running backs have done, the amount of work he's getting, and what he's recently done on the ground for Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, and I just picked him up in a few of my leagues because he ran well last week. I like he's always run well though. He's one of the type of players to come and runs hard every single time. So it sometimes just doesn't fall his way, but the dude has speed, and with those receivers opening everything up for him and spreading the field open, and that Shanahan type run zone scheme, like I think that's a perfect match for Mostert. I always say
Must start.
Mustard, but
No, you're
yeah,
saying must
must
start.
start.
Must
Yeah, let's
start.
go.
Yeah,
And
they
just
cannot it'd be pretty there's a good word for it, but I'm gonna say unsmart of teams to stack the box or something like that against the Dolphins when you got 2 of the
you
fastest
can't.
guys in the world on the wings there. But did something come to mind for your last one? Or you still looking?
No, I popped it up, man. The app makes it easy for me to find something. So I just tapped on it and took me right to Justin Jefferson. And I'm gonna go higher than 93 and a half passing yards or receiving yards, I'm sorry. The last 3 games, he's been on fire, man. He's
Crazy.
at 100 yards, 157 yards, 147 yards. So, he started off pretty slow this season, but I think he's back on track. But he is playing an Arizona defense that's pretty good versus the pass. They're only giving up 258 yards per game. So it's going to be a really good matchup. But I think he's on the chair right now. When he gets going, there's no way to stop him. So um, I'm gonna go with Justin Jefferson higher than 93 and a half receiving yards.
Which, I mean, for most wide receivers, you'd say, hey, that's a pretty high mark. But looking at him, 184, 147, 154, 107. These are some of the examples from this season. So, I mean, he's performing to the wide receiver one overall level right now. And a big part
Exactly.
of that is just the volume. He's had 4 games over 10 targets. So he's being fed. He's doing a ton with the ball in his hands. He's having a great year. So it's hard not to bet on him every week. So I'm with you there. And it's not like they're playing a walkover team right now either with the Cardinals. They got their guy back in Hopkins. They seem pretty healthy outside of Marquise Brown, and should be a decent game for them to have to throw the ball. The Vikings they're looking to run that NFC North. My Bears are just fighting for that first place spot right now, so they got to get this dub.
Yeah, and I know you like to talk about the game script, and I think it's going to be one of those games they're going to air it out on both ends. So I see Arizona, like you said, they're getting healthy in their receiver room, and they're going to throw the ball a lot. So you got to combat that with more passing. So Minnesota's got to throw the ball as well. So it's going to be a fun game to watch.
I think so. I think so. And I want to mention something I did earlier today. I did a draft on Underdog, which I don't do a lot, but they have these options. So they have this Battle Royale Week 8, and what happens is you sign up, like this is $5 on Underdog, and it's a draft. So instead of like a DraftKings lineup where you're just selecting your own team, you're in a room, virtual room with like 6 people, and first place is $50,000, and they have prizes all the way down to 9,000, or 9,000th place.
Mm.
So it's a huge like DFS tournament, but I like the fact that it's a draft, which is kind of cool because this time of the year for fantasy, we've done all our drafts. We're completely far and away out of draft season, and you get to sit down and actually do a draft and see how people build their lineups. So I did that earlier today. My team, maybe not phenomenal, but it's fun to do. It's fun to do. You never know with that. But when it comes to Sundays, I think like these player props that Major and I have been talking about, along with like drafting all on one app, makes it more fun. And you spend worse things at the grocery store with your $5, and you can with this and win some money. But Major, for week 8, anything else you want to throw out there? Any closing comments as we get into yet another week here?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Just want to kind of reiterate what you said. Like $5, you can't even buy a gallon of gas in California for $5. So you might as well put that and try to double that up, triple that up. You know what I mean? It's a big opportunity to win some money. But yeah, man, I think it's going to be a good week, a good slate of games, a lot of good matchups. So I'm excited for this week. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, man.
All right. Well, we have football ahead of us now, week 8. There's still a game going on. If you have ESPN Plus or you hacked some sort of website, I had somebody send me a link, but I was a little iffy on clicking it. But good luck to you guys in your
Never,
player prep.
never click on random links, man.
Nah,
Never
nah,
click on
nah.
random links.
I've learned the hard way. I've learned the hard way, unfortunately. But again, check out Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code Fantasy Points. It's on the screen, spelled out like that. Fantasy PTS for a deposit matchup up to $100. Let's win some money today. Maybe you're doing
Easy
great in
money.
fantasy. Maybe you're not. Let's win some cash today. Hopefully, we helped you guys out and enjoy this week 8 set of games, guys.